because I realized when I did go up to Miami, I realized kind of how out of touch I was with, regular people, not islanders, but regular people. And I was to learn that, going up to the States. So I was looking forward. The next couple of trips, like I said, went absolutely brilliant. No problems at all. Probably the two best trips, I had the pleasure to enjoy in quite a while. And life moved on. So I met Andy the day that we were leaving. I met Andy down at the Spindrift. He'd left a message with Dave, if he saw me or if he could get in touch with me to basically go down, touch bases with him, and we were to talk about what time we were going to leave in the morning, blah 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 blah, all this type of stuff. So Dave got the message to me. I could see Dave when he told me that. When actual reality set in that I was going to be leaving, I had a massive lump in my throat. My stomach was churning. I felt sick. I felt sad. I felt all those emotions, all those different emotions of sadness and guilt, betrayal. I felt all that just mixed into one, and it was like I'd eaten lead. I'd eaten a plate full of lead, and my stomach was so heavy. My body just felt so heavy with guilt and nausea, and I'd never had that feeling before. I had never experienced, the love that I had, for David, as a friend and as a mentor, and just as like a second dad until I did that moment in time. I was absolutely gutted. So saw Andy, sat down with Andy. We were going to be departing at 07:30 in the morning. I was to be down at the Spindrift, get a breakfast with Andy about 6:30, and we'd make our way to the airport, and then Andy would check the plane, file his flight plan, and hopefully we'd be airborne by 7:30 in the morning, and that would be it. So we cleared everything up. I made my way back to the boat. I didn't have much stuff. I had a couple of t-shirts, a couple of pairs of jeans, a pair of trainers, a pair of boots for the really, really bad weather, socks, all that type of stuff, toothbrush, toothpaste, blah, 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 blah. Packed up my scuba gear, put it up in the rafters in the classroom, up on the small roof, cleaned the boat, and just made sure that everything would be ready for me to leave in the morning time. And I rang Dave from the dive centre. I'd asked him where he was, and he said he was in the house. So he was in the restaurant. Come on over, get a coffee. And I didn't really want to. And I just says, no, Dave, I'll come over, but I don't, I don't really want to come in. You know what I mean? I don't want any problems with Sue or fucking Sue shouting at you or any of that stuff, asking me why I was in the house, all this type of stuff. So I met Dave round the back, and he was lying on the couch, and I knocked on the door, and he came out onto the balcony and stuff, and it was a very tense, short conversation, and I went to give him a hug, and he put his hand out, and he was like, nope, no call, because I knew if we did that, I knew there was going to be tears, and I wouldn't have left. I wouldn't have gone. I would have fucking just says to Andy, no, I'm not fucking going, I'm staying here. Then Dave would have flipped out and went mad at me, and all this type of stuff, and he says, no call, no hugs, he goes, and no goodbyes. He goes, I'll see you, he goes, in a few weeks. Me and Dick will be up in a few weeks. He goes, let's not fucking say goodbye, call. He says, goodbye is permanent. He goes, as the Russians say, das vidanya. And I started cracking up and stuff, and he always put a positive spin on even the shittiest of moments. I said, fair enough. And I says, you better be up in a couple of weeks. He says, I'll give you a phone. He says, I'll give you a phone call. I gave him Andy's number, which he'd already had, but I gave it to him again, knowing that I'd given it to him, and that he had it. And he says, give me a call. He says, give me a ring. He says, when you get there, he says, when you get into the house, give me a ring. He says, and let me know you got there safely. He goes, and we'll take it from there, call. And he says, like I said, come back whenever you want. He said, your job is always here. He goes, you're always my number one diver. He says, your boat, he says, I'll make sure that your boat makes money for you. You know what I mean? He says, your scuba gear, I told him where it was, your scuba gear will be safe, call. You know what I mean? He says, the Manta 4 will still be here when you come back. He says, your job's still on the Manta 4, he goes. And He says, you know, don't worry about anything, don't worry about me. And that was easier said than done. And that was it. We didn't shake hands. David just, see you, Col. And he turned and he walked in and he closed the door. And I felt like I got punched in the face. It's very difficult. But I knew in a couple of weeks I would see him again, which was good. So I was happy with that. And I went back to the dive centre, made sure, just looked over the lists of everything for the next trip in my own mind. Left a note for Tim, left a note for Ollie. I fucking didn't leave one for Cal, and I left a small message for Betty, just to say, you know, thank you for everything she'd done on the boat, for taking care of us, for feeding us, you know, for making sure that everything was spick and span and spotless. And I would see her again on my return, and hopefully she'd still be on the boat when I came back. So that was my hope for that. I wandered into town. This time I fucked it. I walked down the beach. I was just in terrible distress, you know, terrible humour. And I just thought to myself, the first fucker steps out on the beach and opens his mouth, I'm gonna fucking throw him in the water and smash his face in. And that's just really how I felt. I felt really troubled. And I walked down the beach and there was no dramas. There was lots of music. There was a nice light breeze coming in off the reef. Another spotless, clear night. Stars everywhere. The moon had come up. It was a big orangey yellow moon. It was an absolutely gorgeous sight. The waves coming over the reef. Loads of people talking, laughing. Loads of people drinking, cheering, music going on. You know, the island was always a buzz. It was always buzzed with music. And I was going to miss it. And stopped off at Ramon's, which was basically the first port of call when you left Dave's house and you took a left on the beach. And Ramon's was a lot of thatched cabins, all natural wood, banana wood as they called it, which were lovely black and yellow and orange tints in the wood. And that was the local wood supplies, mahogany. So everything was made of wood down there, and the roofs were thatched. The craftsmanship was unreal. It had a long dock. It had a palapa dive shop at the bottom, and it was a great place. It had the Purple Parrot bar, and it had a little 12-foot by 15-foot little freshwater pool. And the place was buzzing. I had a friend down there called Marlon. Marlon was a local fella, a little Belizean guy, and he was also an instructor at Ramon's. A very Christian guy, lovely guy. I used to meet Marlon in the gym every now and then, and him and I would do a good training session. And Marlon was very soft-spoken, very nice guy. I told him I was leaving for a while and heading up to Miami, and Marlon actually frequented Miami, and he said, could I have your address? Maybe your phone number? No problem. So I give Marlon the phone number. I didn't know Andy's address yet, so I couldn't give it to him. I said, there's a phone number, buddy. Give me a call anytime. And you're welcome to come and stay, you know, at the house and stuff. And Andy was okay. Andy told me if I wanted people to come up, if I wasn't working and on my days off, you know, they could come and stay for a couple of days. He had no problem with that, which was very nice of him. So there'd be no problem with me seeing people. So stayed with Marlon for a little bit, and then made my way down to Tarzan's. Went in to see Paul. Had a bit of a chin waggle with Paul, had a coke, told Paul I was heading up to the States. You know, Paul asked me for the phone number, give Paul the phone number. Paul would go up and pick bits and pieces up and records and tapes, you know, for the disco floor and stuff. And Paul, no problem, you know, anytime you come up, buddy, we'll meet up, you can come and stay over, blah 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 blah. Paul wouldn't stay because Paul owned a house in Miami and he had a couple of chicks up there. Paul says no, he says you come and stay with me. Fair enough. So went over to the police station, went over to see the inspector, and had a word with the inspector. Got him another little bottle of rum from Paul, or a decent sized bottle of rum from Paul. Had a little chat with him. I told him I was going up to Miami, and if he was ever up in the area, give me a call.